Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink again, shall we? Today's ink is by Sheaffer, and is the only ink by Sheaffer that I have a bottle of. Sheaffer Skrip Red. Now, this was another one of my first 3 reviews that really needs to be revisited. Not just because my methods have, I think, evolved a great deal since those early reviews, but also because this ink is awesome. This is my go-to red. This is the reddest red to ever read, so I love it. It's when I want like a simple red, it's this ink. Okay, now all the tests were done in this Platinum Preppy, but with a nib that I stubbed. And these pens make great stubs, by the way. And this Lamy Safari with an extra fine nib, if my camera will work today. Now, this is something that most Sheaffer inks are known for, and that Sheaffer Red is particularly known for. It does not have pretty much any water resistance whatsoever. So, as you can see in the chromatography, I mean, you can vaguely make out where the drop was initially put, but then it just flees from water and you get this sort of light, I don't know, like primrose pink, and then it just goes into like a straight red, and there's just a slightly richer band red at the top. But yeah, so that is one of this ink's shortcomings, I guess. But anyways, so here's Sheaffer Skrip Red right here. And here's Noodler's Nikita, Parker's Quink Red, Jeroboam's Rose Rouge, and Jeroboam's Rouge Opera. I mean, you gotta admit, there's something that like really pops about this red, right? I mean, it's just so red. And then here's Sheaffer Skrip Red again, and here's Diatramentis Oriental Red, Noodler's Nikita again, Diatramentis Scented Orchids, Diamine Oxblood, Rose Rouge again, Gentle Grenade, Diatramentis Carmine Red, Red Dragon, Rouge Hematite, which, look at all that sheen. Holy wow, right? Anyways. Oh, and Red Eel, so. Anyways, on to the paper test. Top down in density, Clairefontaine, 90 grams per square meter. I mean, look at that red, right? It's so red. Anyways, the extra fine took 9 seconds to dry, and the stub on the thin strokes took 7, and on the broad took 16. Another thing that this ink is known for is that it doesn't shade a great deal. I mean, even on here, you can only vaguely make out where I laid it on really thick in the scrubbies. But yeah, it's really well behaved. You know, no bleed, no feather, no spread. It doesn't tend to. It's not known to sheen. It's not one of those red inks. It's very well behaved. And again, not the best water resistance. Or again, like as you know what I mean. Anyways, Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter. Again, not an overabundance of shading. I mean, there is a little. I'm going to try and bring this in really close so you can see. Like, do you see in the X right there? I mean, like, I don't know. Anyways, it's in the words, but you'd have to really pay attention to see it. The stub took 14 seconds to dry. The extra fine took 7. No bleed, no feather, no spread. Really not much echo at all, because this is, you know, I mean, it's not like a super dark ink. Flow is just fantastic. You know, I'd say it's like a 5.5. It's not wet, it just goes, you know. And yeah, not a lot of water resistance. That's really, really gone. Next is Tomoe River Paper, where on this cream paper, the color kind of reminded me of Pelikan's Edelstein Garnet, in that it takes on just a slightly, just barely orange hint to it. I think it's because of the cream paper. But anyways, yeah, extra fine took 9 seconds. The stub took 14. Really not bad for Tomoe River. Now this is very thin paper, And while this isn't a light red, it is a, you know, very medium red. So, I mean, echo is always to taste, but still. If you're sensitive to that, maybe be aware. But yeah, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo. I said there's no sheen, but there is. There's like a tiny little halo of sheen in the stub scrubby. I'm not going to get it on camera, but... Oh, there. You see the outline of that little blob in the middle? That's where the sheen is. So I feel like if you put this in a super wet pen on this paper, you might get some sheen. But yeah, no water resistance. Next is the world's worst copier paper, where, I mean, if you're familiar with this paper from previous tests, I think you'll be able to see that this is actually a very good showing. 3 seconds to dry in the extra fine, 3 seconds to dry in the stub. You don't get much spread, you don't get much feathering. I mean, almost none. I would call this almost none. And look at that. No bleed. I mean, you can, okay. Water test was a mess. It didn't get all of it out, but it did get a lot of it out. It did dye the page a bit. It did explode. It did feather. But I'd say this ink, even on the world's worst copier paper, did pretty darn well. Next is Mead Notebook Paper, where I only used the Safari, but it did really, really well. 4 seconds to dry, no shading, but there's also no bleed, no feather, no spread. Well, okay, the bleed is really patchy, and it's only near bleed, and it's around the edge, which makes me think it's how the paper was, you know, made, how in the pressing process. But anyways, yeah, look at that. Isn't that great? I love this ink on cheap papers. It's fantastic on cheap papers. But yeah, water test was not fantastic. I actually had to dab it off very quickly because it started to like suck the water up the page. But anyways, yeah, that'd be hard to recover. But and here's Moleskine notebook paper, but unfortunately, this is that freakishly well-behaved Moleskine notebook paper. You see how shiny the back is? Yeah. Anyways, I mean, I feel like maybe I'll have to test this a third time just to give it a fair showing on Moleskine, because it behaves okay on most Moleskine from what I remember, but not this well. I mean, here it's super well behaved. You know, it took 4 seconds to dry across the board. There's no bleed, no feather, no spread. I remember it having some problems, but here you don't see any. But yeah, anyways, water test, it's really, really gone. But what I think is funny is that there's like bits of each word, or sorry, each letter. Yeah, so anyways, there you go. There's Sheaffer Skrip Red, re-reviewed. This is still my go-to red for just a basic red ink. It's fantastic. It doesn't shade, you know, like obscenely. It doesn't have sheen everywhere. But it's a really well-behaved ink, especially on cheap papers. Flow is nice and steady. You don't have to fight it. It does not dye converters or ink sacs like in, you know, aromatic pens and whatever. Great ink. Solid, solid ink. So, for your consideration from the Triple N Network, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.